Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Broken Promises event, in which the Dark Alchemist is added to the game. So this week has a couple things going on, but the most noteworthy thing by far is that we have a first ever magic-based kingdom reaching 30 star, that of course being Zhul'kari. While we have gotten 30 star kingdoms in the past, this is the first time we've gotten a magic one. Magic, of course, being the overall best stat, especially if you could just simply +1 it, compared to +1ing any other stat gains, by far the biggest amount of benefit. And this is the main location where you'd want to prioritize all of your green deeds. There are basically two colors that are much higher priority than the others due to them being associated to magic. Those being purple, which have 4 different magic-based kingdoms. Those being Blighted Lands, Darkstone, Karkaroth, and Silverglade, all the way in the corner there. However, there is one other color that has one, which is green, specifically Zhul'kari, and as of today, 30 starable. So you get level 20 right here from all your deeds and everything, and that'll end up giving you one magic over there. And then, of course, you end up getting the other one from the now 30 starable kingdom, which if we view bonuses all the way down the bottom there, it'll give an additional kingdom skill bonus. Of course, even if you can't end up hitting this 30 star milestone, you still get plenty of bonuses, so it might be worthwhile to open event keys this week. You get one at 5 star, you get one at 10 star, you get one at 20 star, and of course, the one of today, you end up getting it to 30 star. So, as far as doing this, figured we showed a little bit of the upgrades. There are many requirements that you'll need for this, as far as maxed out pets. I think you need like 4 of them. Like 18 weapons for the kingdom maxed out, 16, whatever the number is, among several other upgrades. But the most hardest ones are probably just having all the troops to begin with, 20 gold elite levels, which is quite a few of them, and of course having all the green deed stats. You max out this place. So let's go through them. So of course troops, we'll get to that when we get to the event key drop table. Simply just opening a bunch of event keys would eventually get you that. And this week it is completely Zhul'kari drop table, so you'll be able to event key for it as of this week. As far as the 20 gold elite levels, you generally want to do this on the lowest possible rarity stuff. Actually, if we do it by base rarity here, we can end up seeing the lowest rarity stuff. So you generally want to do it based on these and kind of work your way up, or actually upgrade things that you might use. For example, the new troop that we end up getting this week, not horrible. And of course, something that I might use this week, the Splintered Golem. Well, we have to use it for the raid event. So let's go upgrade this little guy. As far as upgrading, you normally want to use either 3 of the below. So right here, this is an epic, so we could use 3 of the below, or 1 of the similar for its level. And in this case, we have 2 different ones, Medal of Seasons and Medal of Arania. So I'll end up doing that. For its second level, you generally just want to do 2 of its rarity. In this case, it's an epic one, so we want to do any 2 of the epic rarity ones. And of course, now for its final level, we can either do 3 of the same rarity or 1 of the above rarity. And I'll also do 3 the same, and we'll actually use the other ones since either or are interchangeable. You can even mix and match them, doesn't really matter here. What its stats ends up getting is always static. It's based on what typing it is. This one is a striker, so it's gaining 4 additional magic, 2 additional life, 2 additional armor, and 2 additional attacks. The actual medals you use are not actually giving it any stats. Simply the typing that it has will end up giving it stats based on it reaching the bronze, silver, and gold medal. And you can start elite leveling it once you have it level 20 fully ascended, fully traded. And then you'll be able to go and start getting it elite leveled. And there we go, 20 elite levels. Now, let's go and do the second step, which is upgrade Zhul'kari to level 20, which is now... actually, this was already doable. This I technically could have done a little bit earlier, but we didn't end up doing so. But now that it is 30 starable, definitely should. So, of course, these basically right here, whatever this says is the total that you need. This isn't 8 and then 18 as in 26. This is simply 18 total. If I do this, it will then move this number down to 10. As we can see if we do this upgrade right here. So as you can see, we only need 10 green deeds. As you can see, however, I do not currently have 10 green deeds, or deed books, I should say. However, we do have deeds. So what we can end up doing is going over to the Soul Forge, click over to, not events, click over, oh gosh, I hate this menu thingy. Click over to games, because that's where you would have to click if you were on the other side. But anyways, click over to games, make sure it's actually on this tab, so you can click on games. Click over to Soul Forge, click over to other, and right up here, we can see green deeds. And, oh sorry, this is converting our writs. I actually don't need to do that. I need to go convert to deed books. So if we go over to, wait, where's the deed book? Deed book, where are you? There is green deed book. So as you can see, we can currently craft 11 of them. However, we don't need 11. We needed, what, 9? I think it was 9. Let's hope it's 9. So this converts 450 of our green deed books among a few other resources. And there we go. We will now have a deed books out of all of our writs. And now that should be enough to go and max out this place. Not there, right over here. So if we go click on this, we will now gain 1 additional magic from having the level 20 kingdom. However, we're now going to get additional magic from having Zhul'kari right here. And the nice teal stars, all 5 of them. Very nice. Bright cyan color. I love that color. But anyways, power level 30. Highest current power level until they eventually add more. Because they're probably going to add more at some point. But as it currently stands, the highest possible power level. There we go. Anyways, so that is now a 30-star Zhul'kari and 2 permanent magic. I didn't really get to show it beforehand, but yes, everything we have now is simply 2 higher magic. So this would have been 44 earlier, and now it is 46. So great little buff to have onto every single one of your troops. Obviously, things that benefit from magic benefit more from it than others. Anyways, let's go now into all of the various things. So let's start now from the top and go into the events, go over all the teams, so on and so forth for the week. So the Dark Alchemist, is it any good? It's okay. It lacks some power, so compared to other converters, probably not going to get much use. However, it gets to convert all red gems to web gems. This can backfire at times, though most things from Zhul'kari do have immune to web due to the Dark Ancestry trait. Almost every single elf, actually every single elf in this location has it, as well as just most of the troops in general here, having some immune to web. As far as Zhul'kari is concerned. However, it can be annoying when combined with things from other kingdoms that, of course, do not have immune to web. Web gems can normally backfire more than they actually help in a lot of situations, as while they might hinder the enemy, they might also hinder yourself, especially if you end up getting stunned very easily, as most of these things that have this immune do not have immune to stun. They don't have impervious, one of the few exceptions like Orbweaver, which is really good troop. However, most of them do not have immune to stun, so they just get stunned out, and then your web's just going to hit on yourself, so quite a huge liability. Gets to summon a Night Spider, but for the most part, not that needed. Night Spider, just compared to just using Orbweaver to summon Giant Spider, I don't know, just really isn't that much of a need to use this. Compared to other empowers, I just don't really see a use case for this. During some Zhul'kari restricted events, like this week, you might be able to get away with it. But for the most part, I wouldn't really bother and just stick with other things. There's also even a blue-purple that already has Empower from this kingdom. I believe it converts yellow to green, yellow to purple, one or the other. But it basically does what she does with no downside. Plus, it still ends up webbing the enemy, like I think their weakest enemy or something. So there just isn't much of a need to use this. It's literally something from the kingdom that already does nearly what this does, just without the summon, but with more immediacy with the Empower. So I just don't really see a use case for it in most situations. Anyways, as far as the event key drop table, yes, open it. It is particularly noteworthy, mostly because it's just a Magic Kingdom. However, there's quite a few big pickups here. One of the bigger ones is the Mythics in this category. You can't really go wrong with either of these, though you'd probably want the Weaver a bit more. But yeah, both of these Mythics are insanely good. Weaver is just really good at not dying. 20 mana cost for some reason. Has arguably one of the best trait setups in the entire game. Impervious. So it has immune to most things. Stealthy, so it can't be targeted directly while having immune to most things. And on top of that, it has the single best summon off of a trait in the entire game. A 75% chance to summon a web spinner when an enemy dies. While this is a bit of an annoying condition to get and will not always trigger, which is even more annoying, web spinner summon is insanely good. It deals triple damage to almost everything in the game due to being able to triple damage anything that basically isn't immune to poison and or web. So yeah, it just gets constant triple damage on most things, as well as being a pseudo loop into itself if you can get it going. But on top of that, it is also one of the most consistent webbers in the entire game, being able to 4 times web the entire enemy team with no downside, unlike web gems. And it also deals true damage to not just one enemy, but 2 enemies, all the way in the back. And on top of all that, if it gets a kill, it basically does a Gorgotha and just explodes the whole board. And yeah, just really good. I still don't understand why this is 20 mana cost, but it is insanely good overall value. Not the quickest win, but definitely a very safe winning troop. It reminds me a lot of Rope Dart in that it's, you know, it's not something you would always use. It's not always optimal, but it's really good at not losing. And it's basically like the mythic equivalents of Rope Dart, even though they're a bit different. And the other one is Archpraxy Vandra. You probably don't want this as badly, however, it's still good. Converts all yellow gems to Uber Doom Skulls. If you currently haven't gotten the Uber Doom Skull achievement as well, it's really easy for getting that. Also gets to Curse Web and Poison Strongest Enemy. And on top of that, it gets to conjure an Uber Doomstorm. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's the only troop in the game that does it. Maybe one other. I'm pretty sure it's the only one that conjures a Uber Doomstorm, which is like normal Doomstorm, except with those plus 10 skulls that explode a 5x5 without the corners. Same as how Uber Doom Skulls do. So overall, pretty decent. I believe she also got a mana cost reduction. I believe she used to be like, what, 30-ish? And then she got increased to, or well, decreased, buffed to 26. So it's definitely quite a bit more usable since then. Despite that, I don't think I've actually used her much since then. However, still a really great utility troop. for various skull-related teams. So you can't really go wrong with either mythic, even though you're probably looking for the Weaver. Even if you don't end up getting the mythics, you're going to get yourself a Web Spinner. Web Spinner has damage to all enemies, creates a ton of greens, which feed back into itself. And of course, its most noteworthy trait being its snare, that is specifically before its triple damage, as well as deal triple damage to poisoned and webbed enemies. And despite the fact that it can apply poison to the enemies, you're most likely going to be doing triple damage based on your web. The reason for this is because this is the second trait, and this is the third trait. It goes in hierarchy order, and will end up webbing them before it checks for triple damage. Meaning anything that does not have immune to web, assuming Web Spinner is not stunned, you will end up doing triple damage to for skull damage, which is ridiculously good and very noteworthy. Aside from that, we have Infinite Loop on Elf Team. You can just create a billion purples, so that's always nice. We've gotten quite a few of these, but this is one of the Infinite Loop journey troops. There are, what, 5 of them now? Or technically 6, but 2 of the same color. But yeah, there are 6 of them now, and she is the only one currently for purple. We have some OK Empower that gets used, mostly for Guild War days. Yellow to green, however, this was the converter I was talking about earlier, being better than the new troop that came out today. It's the same color, but it has Empower, and it converts yellow to green, and still has a web mechanic. So generally better. And aside from that, I guess Spider Throne's okay. The web gems could be annoying sometimes, but pretty decent. And a few other utility things here and there, like Giant Spider, even though you normally summon off a Orbweaver clear class. Night Spider, which used to be better before it used to create web gems, so has some rogue synergy. And a few other utility troops like that. As far as things that are not in the drop table, since I didn't end up getting around to that, the things that are not in drop table is the Ace of Cups. It is in the Vault Key drop table, so if you want to go open your Vault Keys, you can get it from there. Of course, we just had a Vault weekend, so perfect time to go open all your Vault Keys if you want. Aside from that, other things that are not in the drop table are, of course, the 4 faction troops from the Edge Azor. You can throw Chaos Shards there to end up getting them at any point. And aside from that, I believe that was everything. Unless there was like one low rarity thing here. Yep, that is all the things not in drop table. Anyways, as far as the next thing, hey, Trippy Treddy. So, before I forget, let's go over the, actually I didn't even look at this yet, the trial team. So, as far, oh, we're already at the starry one, nice. So, as far as the trial team, we do have Giant Spider, so you're going to be feeding that a ton into the Widow Queen. The Widow Queen sacrifices an ally, deals a bunch of damage to all enemies, boosted by the sacrificed troop's life, and then summons a random Zhul'kari troop. You're basically going to be doing this to keep looping onto a single troop over and over again. Let's see, what does this one do again? Poison a bunch of enemies, creates a bunch of green mana potions. Good, but inconsistent. If an enemy is webbed, there's a chance at extra turns. Well, you're going to be more useful than this thing. So basically what we're going to do here is... should I actually do it the other way around? Yeah, I guess we do it like this. We'll kind of keep this guy in the middle. Why on earth do you have a 16 mana cost? I just realized now. That's really high for what you do. But anyways, we're most likely going to want to just spam Night Spider. Giant Spider. This then feeds into the Widow Queen. The Widow Queen then sacrifices your Night Terror. You then keep getting a resummon there off of the Zhul'kari random summon. And then you keep rinsing and repeating until the enemy team is dead. The whole premise is to spam Giant Spider into Widow Queen until you have one to fight. This is basically just here for utility, though you can sacrifice or have in a slightly different order if you so choose. And your Giant Spider has backup resummon to give even more fodder to your Widow Queen. And essentially your entire team is Widow Queen, just summoning and sacrificing constantly every single time until you ultimately end up winning. And that's pretty much going to be the entire strategy here. You just keep spamming her until you win, just whittle them down very slowly. You could try to even use her to get a different Zhul'kari troop. That could be better. There are quite a few things in that category that could just auto-win you the entire thing. Most notably, Web Spinner. Though, then again, some of these do have immune to web, so maybe not Web Spinner. Though you can still loop his green, so still Web Spinner, just in a different way than you would normally win with Web Spinner. But, yeah, you could also go down that route, where you basically just sacrifice everything you don't want. Just go Giant Spider, Widow Queen, and just basically re-roll these 2 troops until they're not horrible, and then try to play the battle from there. So, either way you want to do it, but regardless how you look at it, Giant Spider into Widow Queen is essentially your entire team, and you're just centered around that as far as your win condition is concerned for the trial event. I'll be doing that later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do every night. Anyways, as far as other things we have going on, let's go into the guild event. We have the raid boss. Pretty straightforward raid event as of these days, though don't forget you do have to use the new troop. It has 2 times magic and 2 times score. You can end up getting him in a shop for, what, 210 gems. Ends up giving you the weapon and the troop, and then you can just orb him up or simply just use him as is, as he will give 2 times score regardless. It's not like Bounty Hunter where you have to like max them out. We do a Bounty Hunter this Friday, but it's not like Bounty Hunter in the sense that you have to max it in order to get max points. You can simply just run it as an epic rarity troop if you really want to. I'm pretty sure you do want to max it though, especially if you're later in the game, because you need that 30-star Zhul'kari, and I believe he does need to be maxed for that. But you also end up getting this weapon. This weapon's pretty decent. Ends up exploding a bunch of green gems, grants random success effect to all Zhul'kari allies, and summons a random Zhul'kari. It actually has really good coloration for Zhul'kari. Red and yellow are not commonly used within the kingdom, so this covers a lot of ground as far as missing colors. It's a very heavy green, purple, blue related kingdom, so it doesn't actually have that much red or yellow or brown, but this fixes your red and yellow issue. So really great for kind of putting a Zhul'kari team together, so very nice there. And of course, just use this troop for the event. Doesn't have really anything special, just pretty standard raid troop. Just deal some damage to the boss. Its special effect is not anything good. It explodes 3 web gems, and with most of the teams that you're going to be creating, you're probably not even going to bother utilizing web gems. It does have immune to web if you do. However, of course, if you do end up getting stunned, it's going to be a huge liability. So for the most part, you probably don't even want to have it, the mechanic on your team. A few extra explodes isn't really going to get you that far, especially if you have to go out of your way for an entire troop to do so. Anyways, aside from that, other things that we have going on this week. This Tuesday, we have a faction event for Eldrazor, which is a green-purple, so we have access to Thrall Leprechaun, so basically just build any team around that and you'll be good to go. We also have access to Rowain, so that's nice. Wednesday, we have the Arc Proxy Evandra book. I believe this is the first time this pet has been available. I believe this is the Mythic pet from that one event, so this was at one point money locked. Though it has been in the drop table for quite a bit of time now. I want to say almost a year, around that much time, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit less. But it's been quite a while, so you've probably already been able to get it. However, if you haven't been able to, I believe this is the first ever Wednesday event where you have a guaranteed chance of getting it. So even though it's been available for free for a while, well, this is your chance to really get it for free if you didn't end up buying it for money way back when. Aside from that, this Thursday we have yourself the Orbweaver class, Orbweaver class event. This class is interesting. You generally don't use it too often, but when you do, it's really good. It's actually got nerfed a couple times, oddly enough, mostly because it was summoning too much. It's most noteworthy for having stealthy while we'll be able to summon a giant spider. You've probably seen it a lot in Guild Wars, and probably only there, because it's really good at not losing. You basically just put some kind of really annoying hero weapon on it, like Life and Death, or something to make it near unkillable. It has stealthy, so you can't target it directly, and combined with Bless off of something like Life and Death, it becomes even more unkillable. And then you combine that with the fact that it summons a giant spider 35% of the time it takes damage, and it can take damage from anything, even just like a burn, a poison, anything else, a bleed, and it just constantly keeps resummoning over and over and over again. And because of its stealthy, you have to kill the giant spider first. You can't just target it directly. So it's a really unkillable hero sometimes. It's not particularly quick at winning, but it's really good at not dying. So you don't tend to use it offensively, but defensively, which is why you mostly see it on Guild War, it tends to be pretty decent, though still very situational. Very commonly used with Arachnean Weaver from the Kingdom, or other various things like pure elf teams using, oh gosh, I forgot her name. But the one that infinitely loops purple. Why on earth did I forget her name? She's actually a really relevant troop from this kingdom. I don't use her too often, though. The Secra Darkwood. Really good synergy with that because of the elf synergy there. And they're also from the same kingdom, so you get a little bit of magic bonus. But whenever you're building like a 4x team for her, that's another situation, and particularly an offensive situation where you might end up utilizing the Orbweaver hero class. And as I mentioned, this Friday we have Bounty Hunter. Nothing special with it, just very standard bounty event. If you want to partake in that, otherwise just do the free battles and you still get a ton of loot. Aside from that, not that Underspire is any different, but Underspire, similar in many modes, is basically Zhul'kari restriction. Raids is Zhul'kari restriction, Underspire is Zhul'kari restriction, and this Thursday, Zhul'kari plus Elf restriction. So a lot of teams this week are very interchangeable. If you just want to run an infinite loop Secra or whatever you want to run, you can run it across almost every single mode this week. With the exception of like Bounty Hunter this Friday. But aside from that, they're pretty interchangeable as far as you can end up running. Not to mention most Zhul'kari teams are also green-purple, so you can technically just run them on faction as well tomorrow. So almost every single thing this week you could almost run the same team for. But anyways, as far as the Soul Forge is concerned, all the mythics are pretty skippable this time around. The only thing maybe worth mentioning, just because this is a very heavy elf week, I wouldn't necessarily advise going out of your way for it, but if you really wanted like a elf utility troop to really put your team together for something, they'll do is you keep in mind, due to most of the Zhul'kari restrictions, this is not a Zhul'kari troop. However, the 50% mana start for elves does not exist in Zhul'kari. It's actually from Forest of Thorns. So, but despite that, most things from Zhul'kari are elves. So if you wanted to build some kind of 50% mana start elf team, do keep in mind you will probably need a King Avalon. and he's available if you want to go get him in Soulforge this week. Normally not worth necessarily going out of your way for legends, as you'll have every single legend way before you have every mythic in the game. However, potentially worth considering if you really wanted to go all out with that, if applicable. Aside from that, as far as weapons are concerned, I don't think I actually built any teams around it when we start showing teams. However, I would say the one most useful weapon here, as far as like outside of the context of this event week, is probably the Book of Brambles, due to it being elf synergy. This has synergy not just only in Zhul'kari, but also in, of course, Forest of Thorns and a couple other locations that are a bit more elf-based, and ends up creating a ton of green and purple, which are really good colors for Zhul'kari, but also can be pretty good colors for Forest of Thorns and other elf-related kingdoms. So, worth considering if you're going to get any one weapon. Aside from that, whatever you end up needing for whatever Kingdom Star milestone you're trying to hit, as there are plenty of weapons from Zhul'kari due to it being a very old original kingdom, so has a ton of options to choose from. Anyways, I think it's about time we start going into a bunch of teams. So let's start all the way from the top, all of which will be in the description below if you want to go and copy paste any of them. So the first one that we have here is Raid Event. This is a Zhul'kari restriction, as is pretty much everything. However, keep in mind it is a Zhul'kari restriction that you also have to use the Splintered Golem on. He will end up giving you double the amount of points. He also has double magic. So even if you don't have him fully upgraded, he will still be hitting very, very hard. And if you do, he'll be basically having 10 times damage. 2 times this value, as well as 5 times from that. So essentially 10 times damage, as they do stack multiplicitly. But yeah, he'll just poke the raid boss very, very hard. And you can also poke the other things there. We're mostly going down a skull spam build here, using Arc Proxy for all of its skull spam, into Web Spinner for its triple damage. Essentially, we're just using this to get some mana accumulation, as well as resummon if Web Spinner dies. We're using this to one-shot the boss, or two-shot if you're really deep, though for the most part, should be able to one-shot with 10 times damage effectively. As well as using this for the resummon. This will be able to summon when Web Spinner dies, though ideally he'll stay alive and be able to just triple damage onto everything that's still alive. And Arc Proxy will be able to feed it skulls. However, if the skulls backfire some, of course, Web Spinner might die, but then you can simply just go resummon there, and you'll be good to go. Next, we have ourselves the low rarity raid, which is basically going to be Secret Spam, which is pretty much the low rarity anything this week, is go get yourself a bunch of Secrets from the event key drop table. If you don't have her, just get her from event keys. If you need more event keys, I think I already bought in mine for the week. I do it so often out of habit. However, if you go over resources, all the way at the left here, you can't see it on my menu because I already bought it. But under your menu, there should be an offer for glory. It's 180 glory each. You could buy 10 of them every single week. And it gives a few other resources too, but you could get 10 event keys every single week. If you haven't been doing that, definitely make sure to do so. Unfortunately, I can't show it here because I already did it earlier. However, yeah, those 10 event keys, you'll probably get a secret from that, if not multiple. So definitely worth considering, as she could pretty much, like, if you just set like any elf on your entire team, just any 3 elves, and you use this, you're probably fine for every single mode this entire week. Yeah, it's actually that strong. One thing to keep in mind though, during the raid event, you are forced to have to use this. And this is not an elf. It is an elemental construct, which is unfortunate, as we will get a little bit less boost ratio here. But for every other mode this week, you can just simply put her with 3 other elves, and she could just completely carry you. So, yeah, pretty easy wins for most events this week just using her. But she is a little bit less effective during the raid event, but still effective enough that she'll probably be fine. Next, we have ourselves the faction event for Eldrazar, whatever that one is called. The one from this faction. This one right here. Whatever this word is. Where is it? This one. The Eldrazor. I'm looking at the word and I still don't know how to say it. Anyways, as far as teams, we have access to green and purple. So, Rowan quick kill. Easy enough. Just doubling up on Rowan here. For the higher range, you can just run literally anything you feel like with Thrall Leprechaun. Just run a damage source, Thrall, a damage source, Leprechaun, and you're good to go. If you don't have these 2 options, replace it with anything you have. This could be like a Rowan, this could be like a hero doing anything, and you're good to go. That's all you really need for any kind of build, and it will carry you through the entire faction. Anyways, as far as pure faction is concerned, there's actually a weird one where you actually want to kill out your first slot. So Deep Huntsman is one of 2, 3, how many troops are there now with 100%? I don't remember, but he's one of a few troops in the entire game. Like, oh yeah, it's 3 or 4, because Ogress as well has the Fortress Gate. This one has Tome Spider, and Drake Rider has Drake, unless I'm forgetting one. There are 3 currently in the game that have a 100% chance to summon something, but this is one of them. So basically how this works is, assuming it's not stunned, it has a 100% chance to summon a Tomb Spider, which is a brown-red troop that does a decent amount of damage. Essentially what you'll want to do is, on the pure faction team, you, on the first fight, want to die on your first slot. This will end up making your team into a... actually, I might as well go find it right here. It'll make your team into the following as soon as it dies. It'll end up becoming a Tome Spider, Deep Huntsman, and then double Matron. As far as this thing, it just inflicts Web, Hunter's Mark, and Death Mark. So basically, you can try cheesing by trying to kill either with Death Mark or with Hunter's Mark. And that's basically his whole premise. Has a little bit of damage poke, and doesn't really get much from its traits. You're essentially just going entirely into either Death Mark kill or a Hunter's Mark kill and hoping that ends up working out. Anyways, as far as this thing is concerned, you're basically making this into your team. You can't start like this, otherwise you will not get a pure faction completion. It specifically has to start as pure faction. It has to be only Eldrazi troops, and this is not an Eldrazi troop. However, you're allowed to finish like this. So you basically have it die on the first battle, and then you will end up winning the fight with this team. Tome Spider, Deep Huntsman, double Matron. And then you go through the rest of the delve like that and hope this thing never dies. And by the final fight, you will hopefully have this still as your team. And if you don't, then this will be your team. Ignoring the first Deep Huntsman, it would be Tome Spider into double Matron. But basically, you keep spamming this for a bunch of damage. You keep whittling them down. You try to use this to try to get random kills whenever you can end up getting so. And unfortunately, it only applies to the first enemy. But you can use that to try to utilize your Hunter's Mark, and if the Hunter's Mark doesn't get it, hopefully Death Mark will. And basically, just keep whittling them down like that, using this as your main mana accumulator, and just keep rinse and repeating until you end up winning. Not the easiest faction, not the hardest, pretty mid-range, and you're mostly just using your legends until you win. Everything else is just simply here to tank. You can even keep the 2 Huntsmans alive and just let them naturally die out. However, your damage output will be way higher if you have a Tome Spider in your first slot after the first one dies, rather than having double Huntsman. Just make sure you do not start with the Tome Spider on your team, otherwise it will not count as a pure faction win. Anyways, as far as the Orbweaver class event, you're restricted to elves from Zhul'kari. So for this, I just went Dark Maiden spam. However, given that it is an elf, you can go with the Huntsman as well that we were mentioning earlier. You could just simply go with... why did I say Huntsman? Not Huntsman. You could end up going with... why do I keep forgetting her name? You can keep going with Secret Darkwood. Like, you can build any team around that and you'll be perfectly fine. Or for this, I just went for the quick kill Deathbringer. You can do it with any brown weapon any green weapon that you have. We're basically just feeding green link from the Dark Maiden into any green weapon we choose that ideally hits all enemies. You can also go down the Dark Seeker route if you want. Anyways, as far as Underspire is concerned, this is also, guess what, a Zhul'kari restriction. However, unlike the Raid Zhul'kari restriction, where you are forced to have to use the Splintered Golem, you are allowed to build anything you want. So a little bit more flexibility as far as what you could end up doing here to make a slightly more coherent team. For this first one, we're still going down a bit of a skull route and using the weapon here to end up accumulating a bunch of mana based on Zhul'kari allies, which of course we're restricted to, so it'll be our entire team as long as we're using Orbweaver hero class. And we have a Secret here just to kind of do a little bit of damage pressure on top of that. The next one we have here is going all in on Secret, quite literally using 2 of her as well. We're using the Malkadessa, which is basically just a superior version of the new troop we got today. Has Empower, has Immediate Convert, just feeds you all the greens you need. Unfortunately, that isn't purple. However, you'll just start spamming purple thereafter. And the 2 of them are because if the first one misses, you can just go straight into the other one. And we're using Orbweaver hero class just so it gets the full elf boost ratio there, so we can create as much purple as possible. And you just keep spamming them between each other until you end up winning. And just whittle them down that way. And Bounty Hunter this weekend, while I can't show it with the Bounty Captain, as of course that doesn't come out till this Friday, it is the same premise as per usual. It is Ogress, Tagraki, Corpse Mirror, and whatever the Bounty Captain is. You can end up replacing one of these for a quick kill AoE for the first several fights if you so choose. However, if you want to maximize on points, you are going to want to make sure you use 4 Bounty Troops every single time that are fully ascended so that you get the full amount of 6 times bonus, as well as using the new Bounty Captain that comes out on this Friday so you get the full 30 times bonus. Otherwise, it'll be slightly less than that. If you just use 4 Bounty Troops, it'll end up being 24 times, but the Bounty Captain will give you that extra 6 times due to its double bonus, though it does require fully maxing it out, of course. Anyways, is that everything? I believe that might be everything, but yeah. Highly advise upgrading your Zhul'kari, even if you don't have anywhere near the capability of getting to 30 star, you can still get to 5 star, 10 star, 20 star, whatever your next milestone is. I would advise maybe trying to move towards it. Unless you're at like 21 star and trying to move to 30 might be a little hard. However, if you're like 19 or below on the power level, I would advise trying to at least attempt moving to the next level. as anytime there's a magic kingdom, just always great to be able to get nice permanent magic, the 5-star, the 10-star, the 20-star bonuses. And if you are able to go all the way, that's an extra 2 magic. One from upgrading the kingdom to 20, level 20 from the deeds, deed books more so, the green deed books. And the other one, of course, from the now finally keepable 30 power level for that extra and final magic until they add even more into the future. Who knows, next patch will be like, oh, we now have 50 power levels for every kingdom. No, they wouldn't move it that much. They'd move it to 35 or 40 if they're going to move it up. Anyways, guys, we're going to end it here for now. Hey, a flower. Anyways, we're going to end it here for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. All the teams we went over during this video are in the description. And later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the channel, we'll go through all the trials, go through the raid event, and just all the normal stuff we normally go through, as well as whatever the campaign tasks were, though I recall they were pretty passive, so they're probably going to get done automatically without even trying. Anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful week, have a wonderful Cyber Monday, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.